Welcome, and settle in. The world above is fading now, receding like a distant shoreline. Here, there is only the sound of your breath and the imagined immense silence of the deep. We are leaving the sun behind, descending through layers of fading light into a realm of permanent midnight. This is a place of profound quiet, but not of emptiness. It is a museum of hidden history, a gallery of unanswered questions. The pressure here is 800 times that of the surface, a weight that would crush steel and bone with indifferent ease. Yet within this crushing dark, stories are preserved. They wait in the cold and the stillness. Stories of vessels that never returned, of shapes too large to comprehend, of lights where no light should be. Tonight, we will gently explore these echoes. We will not startle them, for they are old and resting. We will simply listen to the whispers they left in their wake. Our first descent begins not with a mystery of ancient origin, but one from the modern age, an age of nuclear power and global tensions, of technology believed to be invincible. It is the story of the USS Scorpion, a skipjack-class nuclear attack submarine, and its 99 souls. In the spring of 1968, the Scorpion was completing a routine surveillance mission in the Mediterranean Sea. She was ordered to return to her home port in Norfolk, Virginia. The journey across the Atlantic was expected to be uneventful. On the 21st of May, the submarine was about 250 miles southwest of the Azores. She sent a routine communication signal to Naval Station Rota in Spain. It was a standard status report, indicating nothing amiss. The message was received at 1:15 p.m. It contained the submarine's position, speed, and course. The officer transmitting signed off with a simple, "Any news for Scorpion?" There was none. That was the last confirmed communication ever received from the vessel. After that, only silence echoed across the radio waves. The Scorpion was expected to arrive in Norfolk on May 27th. As the date came and went without any word, concern slowly turned to alarm. A massive international search and rescue operation was launched, covering thousands of square miles of the North Atlantic. For 5 days, ships and aircraft scanned the surface, hoping for a sign. They listened with hydrophones, delicate ears lowered into the sea, hoping to detect the distinctive sound of a submarine's distress signal. They heard nothing but the natural song of the ocean. The vast, empty expanse yielded no clue, no debris, no oil slick. It was as if the 77-meter-long nuclear submarine had simply dissolved into the deep blue. Officially, the Navy did not declare the Scorpion lost until June 5th. The families of the crew waited in agonizing uncertainty, hoping against the mounting evidence. The sea had swallowed the vessel whole, leaving not a trace upon its surface. The mystery was absolute and terrifying. A premier asset of the United States Navy, a vessel of immense power, had vanished without explanation. The ocean, however, keeps records in its abyssal plains. Months later, in October of 1968, a Navy oceanographic research vessel, the USNS Mizar, was slowly towing a deep-sea camera sled across the seabed. They were searching an area of the mid-Atlantic ridge, far off the Scorpion's intended course. The cameras drifted over a fractured, desolate landscape, miles below the surface. On a silt-covered slope, the lights of the sled illuminated something unnatural. It was a shattered piece of machinery. Then another, The grainy film revealed a field of debris scattered across the ocean floor. Among the wreckage, they identified a propeller from a Mark 37 torpedo, a type carried by the Scorpion. The wreckage lay at a depth of over 3,000 meters, nearly 2 miles down. The submarine was not intact. It was broken into several large sections: the bow, the sonar dome, the operations compartment, and the stern. They lay separated on the bottom, a trail of destruction telling a silent, violent story. The recovery of the crew's remains was impossible at such a depth and pressure. The discovery answered one question, but immediately spawned a more complex one. What happened? A court of inquiry was convened, but without the vessel to examine, without survivors to interview, its findings were necessarily speculative. The official Navy report eventually suggested a catastrophic failure, a likely hot-run torpedo accident within the submarine's own torpedo room. The theory posits that a torpedo might have become activated or hot while still in its tube. Its battery could have overheated, leading to an explosion that ripped the hull apart from the inside. This would have been instantaneous, a flash of violence in the dark that gave the crew no time to react. It is a clean, technical explanation, one that places the blame on a tragic mechanical fault. But the deep does not give up its secrets easily, and alternative theories persist, like slow currents. Some point to the submarine's last overhaul, which had been rushed. They whisper about potential mechanical deficiencies that were overlooked in the pace of Cold War readiness. Could a simple valve failure have led to a flooding? Could the hull have succumbed to the pressure during a deep dive? Other theories drift into darker, more shadowy waters. The Scorpion was returning from a mission, observing Soviet naval activity. Some suggest she may have been engaged, silently, by a Soviet submarine. Perhaps a torpedo found its mark in the deep, an unacknowledged casualty of a hidden war. No evidence has ever surfaced to support this, but in the silence, the idea lingers. There is a more haunting and more plausible mechanical theory. Investigators later studied the unique acoustic signature of the sinking. The Navy's underwater listening stations, designed to detect enemy submarines, had recorded the event. The tapes revealed a series of sounds, metallic creaks and pops, consistent with a hull collapsing under immense pressure. But before those final sounds, there was another, a single loud acoustic event. Some analysts believe this sound matches not an internal explosion, but the violent collapse of the submarine's ventilation system. This could have been triggered by a deep dive that went too far, or by a sudden catastrophic hull breach. The sea at that depth does not flow in, it injects itself with the force of a solid hammer. The wreck itself, visited by later deep-diving submersibles, offered ambiguous clues. The bow of the Scorpion was found separated forward of the torpedo room. Some see this as evidence of an eternal blast originating there. Others note the damage could be consistent with an implosion as the hull plunged downward, breaking apart under stress. The truth is likely a combination of events, a chain reaction of failures lasting perhaps only seconds. Today, the USS Scorpion rests on the abyssal plain. Her nuclear reactor and her 2 Mark 45 torpedoes, armed with nuclear warheads, remain with her. They are monitored, slowly becoming one with the seabed, encrusted by strange, slow-growing life. The pressure that claimed her now preserves her as a tomb and a monument. Her story is a reminder that even at the height of human engineering, the deep sea remains the dominant force. It is a realm that tolerates no errors, that swallows noise and light and ambition into its boundless, quiet dark. The 99 men of the Scorpion are still on patrol, in a silence far deeper than any they ever knew. And as we leave that field of quiet debris, we carry with us the understanding that some echoes never truly fade. They simply become part of the background hum of the deep, a note in the endless low song of the ocean. A song we are only now, in the dark and the quiet, beginning to learn how to hear. But that song has many verses, and some of them are not echoes of departure, but whispers of arrival. They speak of things that came to rest in the deep, long before steel hulls ever learned to dive. Our next mystery does not begin with a loss, but with a discovery that should not be. It was found in the Baltic Sea, a body of water thought to be mapped, understood, and tamed. In the summer of 2011, a team of commercial divers was searching for sunken treasure. Their sonar sweep revealed an object on the seafloor. It was perfectly circular and massive. The image was baffling. It showed a distinct 70-meter diameter circle on the bottom, and resting upon it, or perhaps rising from it, was a strange linear formation. To many eyes, it looked uncannily like a staircase. The news, when it leaked, ignited imaginations. They called it the Baltic Sea Anomaly. Here was a shape that defied the gentle chaos of nature. It appeared manufactured, engineered. It lay at a depth accessible to modern diving, yet it was shrouded in claims of electrical interference. Divers reported that their equipment would fail as they approached it. Cameras would die. Satellite phones went silent. The anomaly, it seemed, did not wish to be observed. It became a Rorschach test in the cold, dark water. Some saw a crashed UFO, a flying saucer half buried in the silt. Others proposed a secret Nazi anti-submarine device, lost to time and defeat. Geologists offered more mundane explanations. A glacial deposit, they said, a rare but natural formation of pillow basalt. Yet the perfect geometry haunted the simple explanation. The debate became its own kind of deep current, swirling with suspicion and wonder. For the true mystery of the anomaly is not merely its shape. It is the effect it has on the surface world, on our minds. It represents the deep ocean's capacity to generate questions for which we have no ready answers. It is a shape in the dark, and we are left to decide what it means. The ocean does not give up its context. It offers a single, puzzling piece and asks us to imagine the whole puzzle. Was it a ritual site from a forgotten age when sea levels were lower? A geological oddity that simply looks intentional? The silence from the site is absolute, and it is a fertile silence. It is a silence that breeds stories. And perhaps that is one of the deep ocean's primary functions, to be a canvas for our deepest curiosities and our oldest fears. The anomaly sits there still, a question mark written in stone and sediment, a reminder that the familiar can become strange if you look at it from a different angle, in a different light. From a modern mystery, we must swim back through time, back to an era when the deep was not a place one could even conceive of visiting. Our next chapter is not written in sonar pings, but in ancient ink. It is found in the writings of Herodotus, the Greek historian. He tells a story of ambition and hubris. Of the Persian king Xerxes and his famed naval commander, Satraspes. Satraspes had committed a grave crime, and his punishment was to be crucified. But his mother intervened, proposing an alternative sentence. She suggested her son be given a task so monumental, so impossible, that his success would redeem him. He was ordered to sail around the continent of Africa, a voyage no one had ever completed. Satraspes equipped a ship and set out from Egypt. He sailed south for months, tracing the western coast of Africa. But the journey grew strange and then terrifying. Herodotus records the sailor's own report. He claimed his ship, at a certain point, became motionless. The wind died completely, yet the sea did not grow calm. Instead, the water itself seemed to resist him. It became thick, like mud. It clung to his hull, halting all progress. The crew, stricken with a primal dread, could row no further. They believed they had reached the edge of the world, a place where the ocean simply stopped. Satraspes turned back. Upon his return, he told Xerxes of the stagnant, viscous sea. The king did not believe this fantastical tale. He judged it a lie concocted to conceal cowardice, and so the original sentence was carried out. Satraspes was crucified. For centuries, this account was dismissed as pure fable, a sailor's excuse, embellished by a historian. But the modern eye reads it differently. We know now what Satraspes likely encountered. He had reached the Sargasso Sea, or the doldrums near it. A region where converging currents can create vast mats of floating Sargassum seaweed. To an ancient mariner, this would look like the ocean solidifying. The wind does often die there. The seaweed can indeed grip a hull, especially a primitive one. His description was not a lie. It was a perfect, terrified account of a phenomenon beyond his culture's understanding. The deep ocean, in this tale, did not swallow a ship. It presented a wall, a barrier of such profound strangeness that it broke a man's spirit. It proved a truth more frightening than monsters. The truth that the world itself could become alien, could defy the fundamental laws of a sailor's experience. Water was meant to flow, to be crossed. This water was a trap, a gelid, living prison. Satraspes brought back a report from the edge of the known world, and for his honesty, he was killed. The deep has always punished those who witness its truths and return to tell them. Their stories are too dissonant, too unsettling for the world that stays behind. This pattern repeats through history. The messenger is often blamed for the message. The ocean's reality is so vast, so indifferent, that we find it easier to doubt the witness than to expand our own reality to fit what they have seen. We silence the echo we cannot understand. From ancient nightmares, we surface into the 20th century, into an era of global conflict, where the deep ocean became not just a mystery, but a battlefield, a hiding place. Our next disappearance is not a single ship, but an entire squadron of submarines. They were the United States Navy's lost submarines of World War II. The USS Grunion, the USS Treasure, though not the later namesake, the USS Greyback. Over 50 American submarines vanished on patrol during the war. Many were found, their fates deduced. But a handful simply never returned. They slipped into the deep on silent final patrols. Their last positions were estimates, Their endpoints were unknown. They remain on eternal patrol, their crews still at their stations, in waters both profound and remote. Consider the USS Grunion. It vanished off the Aleutian Islands in July of 1942. For 60 years, its location was a mystery. Then, in 2006, a team using side-scan sonar found a wreck. It lay at a depth of over 3,000 feet, a tomb in freezing darkness. The sub's bow was missing, torn away. The evidence suggested a catastrophic end, likely its own torpedo circling back in a fatal malfunction. The ocean had kept this secret, this moment of sudden, violent oblivion, for over half a century. It gave it up only when technology finally asked the right question in the right place. Each of these lost boats is a sealed capsule of time. Inside, the dials are frozen. The logs are open to the last entry. The crew's personal effects are exactly where they were left. The deep cold and immense pressure preserve these moments with a terrible fidelity. They are not decomposing in the traditional sense. They are being slowly processed by the ocean. The metal becomes a reef. The silt drifts in. They are undergoing a transformation from machine to monument, from vessel to part of the landscape itself. This is the ocean's final act of absorption. It does not merely destroy, it incorporates. It takes the ambition, the technology, the human lives, and it begins the slow work of making them geological. Turning history into geology is the deepest magic the abyss possesses. And so, as we listen in the dark, the song gains complexity. It is no longer just a hum. It is a chorus with many parts. The metallic groan of a collapsing submarine. The silent, geometric defiance of a circular stone form. The desperate scrape of an ancient oar against clinging seaweed. It is the sound of limits being reached. The limit of technology against pressure. The limit of explanation against shape. The limit of courage against the unknown. The deep ocean is the great liminal space, the realm of the threshold. One crosses over and does not return the same. Or one does not return at all, and in that not returning, a new kind of existence begins. An existence as an echo, as a story, as a sonar ghost on a screen, as a warning, or a puzzle, or a footnote in an ancient text. The ocean is the curator of all these states. It holds them in suspension, in its dark galleries. It asks nothing of us, but to remember, to wonder, to occasionally send down a fragile, glowing eye on a cable, to briefly illuminate a face in the dark, to see, for a moment, the silent, patient keepers of its mysteries. And as the glow of that eye fades, and it is winched back toward the distant, shimmering surface, the deep settles once more. The silt, disturbed by our passing inquiry, drifts back down. It covers the tracks of our visit. It restores the perfect, endless quiet. The song continues. It was there before our submarines, before our sonar, before our first raft. It will be there after. We are merely learning, note by faint note, to harmonize with its eternal, low and patient refrain. A refrain sung in the dark, for the dark, by the dark itself. So, let us listen a while longer. Let the pressure of the stories settle around you. Let the silence between them become a space for your own mind to wander. Down there, in the cool and the quiet, where time stretches and light is a memory, where the mysteries are kept safe, waiting. Let us begin this descent with a sound, not a song, but a shudder, a vibration that traveled through 3,000 miles of solid ocean in 1997. It was heard by hydrophones placed across the Pacific, a network listening for far more earthly things. They called it the bloop, a low-frequency pulse that rose rapidly, then faded across the monitors. It possessed an acoustic signature that suggested a living source, a very large living source. But its volume, its sheer power, defied any known creature. The blue whale, the largest animal to ever exist, would have been a whisper in comparison. The bloop echoed with the force of a tectonic event, yet it carried the organic signature of something alive. It came from the deep South Pacific, a region of crushing emptiness. For years, it remained a cipher, a biological impossibility, or a geological curiosity misread. The ocean, it seemed, had cleared its throat, and in that momentary resonance, we heard a scale that humbled our imagination. We pictured impossible leviathans moving in the perpetual midnight. We furnished the silence with shapes from our own deepest fears. But the truth, as it often is in the abyss, was stranger than our fiction. The likely source was ultimately attributed to the cry of a massive iceberg fracturing and grounding on the seabed. A shivering titan of ice, giving one final booming groan. The explanation is scientifically satisfying. It ties up the data neatly. Yet, in the private listening rooms of the mind, the first impression lingers, the instinctive chill of that original, unnamed sound. For, in that moment, we believed. We believed the sea could hold a creature of such magnitude. And in believing, we acknowledged a deeper truth. The ocean's greatest power is its capacity to inspire awe that borders on dread, to make room in our reality for the seemingly impossible. Now, let us shift from sound to structure, to something that should not be. Off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, divers found a series of startling formations, vast terraces, sharp right angles, and what appear to be staircases, all submerged under 100 feet of water. The stone is sandstone, naturally prone to fracturing in blocks. The waves and currents are powerful sculptors here. Many scientists see a remarkable but entirely natural geological formation, a product of tidal forces and seismic shifts. But the eye rebels. The mind seeks pattern, intention. The platforms are too flat, the corners too precise. One formation resembles a crude monolithic face, another a stadium-like structure. They form a complex that feels undeniably arranged. If they are artificial, they would rewrite history. Their submergence would date them to a time when sea levels were dramatically lower, to an epoch before the pyramids, when a culture we have no record of carved this monument. They would have worked with stone on a coastal plain, only to have their entire world swallowed by the rising tides. Their legacy would be this silent, aquatic ruin, a memorial to a forgotten chapter of humanity, now visited only by fish and curious divers. Whether natural or not, Yonaguni serves a profound purpose. It stands as a testament to the ocean's role as the ultimate curator of history. It can erase civilizations with a rising tide and preserve their echoes in stone, leaving us to wonder at the blurred line between geology and memory. The deep does not only hide grand formations, it also swallows things whole. Consider the case of the SS Joyita, a sturdy 65-foot merchant vessel found adrift in the South Pacific in 1955. She was badly listing, her decks awash. Her engines were still running. A faint radio distress call had been logged days before, impossible to trace. But upon boarding, the rescue party found a scene of profound and absolute absence. The life rafts were gone. The crew and passengers, 25 souls, had vanished. More curiously, the ship's logbook, sextant, and chronometer were missing. Tools for navigation. A medical kit was found on deck, opened, with bloody bandages inside. Yet there was no sign of violence, no struggle. The hull, though flooded in its lower compartments, was sound. She was a ship of ghosts, a Mary Celeste of the modern age. Theories ranged from mutiny to piracy to a sudden panicked abandonment. But the evidence was contradictory, a puzzle with half the pieces lost to the sea. The Joyita was eventually salvaged and towed to port, but she never gave up her secret. She remains a perfect maritime enigma, a story that presents all the clues but refuses to cohere into a narrative. The ocean provided the stage, the props, and the missing actors. It is a reminder that the sea is not just a keeper of physical mysteries, it is a keeper of stories forever interrupted, of final chapters that were never written, leaving only a tense, eerie silence where the conclusion ought to be. From vanished crews, we turn to a craft that vanished itself. The Nautilus, a pioneering German submarine, was lost in the Arctic in 1931. A vessel designed for scientific exploration, it was crushed by ice during a daring expedition under the floes. Its wreck was discovered decades later, a solemn relic resting on the seabed. But when explorers finally surveyed the site, they found a subtle, unsettling discrepancy. One of the submarine's diving planes, a crucial part of its steering apparatus, was found a significant distance from the main wreckage. This in itself is not unusual for a catastrophic implosion. Metal scatters. But the placement and condition of this piece sparked a quiet debate. Had it been damaged before the final dive? Was the Nautilus's fate not a simple accident with the ice? Could there have been a mechanical failure, a human error, in the moments before the dark water claimed it? The sea holds the wreck, but it has smoothed over the exact sequence of those final, frantic seconds. It offers a scene, but not the script. We are left with a cold, mechanical testimony, a piece of metal lying apart from its whole. A single word out of place in a final sentence. It is a mystery of cause, not of effect. A question about the very last link in the chain that led to the quiet, freezing dark. This is the ocean's preferred method of storytelling. It deals in fragments, a sound without a source, a staircase leading nowhere, a ship without a crew, a piece of wreckage out of place. It provides the echoes, and we, in our need, try to build the cathedral around them. We descend further, to a place where even fragments are scarce. The Mariana Trench, the deepest known point, Challenger Deep, is a realm of near-total stillness. The pressure is over 8 tons per square inch. Here, the water is not a medium for life, but a crushing, absolute presence. And yet, in this most inhospitable of places, hydrophones have recorded something. Not a bloop, but a whisper. A delicate metallic pinging, like a sonar buoy. But there are no buoys here. No submersibles were operating at the time. The sound is faint, structured, and repeating. It comes from the absolute void. Scientists cautiously label it unidentified. It could be a peculiar geological noise, the groan of the trench itself, or the settling of a long-lost shipwreck, far beyond any known wreck site. But in the listening, it feels like a signal, a tiny rhythmic pulse against a canvas of infinite black, a reminder that even in the places we label as empty, something may be making itself known, a testament to the fact that we have not truly listened to the deep, not yet. We have only just begun to hear its vocabulary. Each dive, each new microphone lowered into the Hadal zone is like putting an ear to a door behind which a vast and ancient conversation has been ongoing for eons. We catch a syllable, a breath, and try to divine the language. So let the pressure of these stories settle. The disappearing acts, the impossible structures, the signals from the void. They are not puzzles to be solved, not truly. They are more like mantras, repeated echoes that teach us how to think about the unknown. They teach us humility before the scale of time and depth. They teach us patience with the absence of answers. And most of all, they teach us that the greatest mystery the ocean possesses is its enduring capacity to generate wonder. It guards its secrets not with locks and keys, but with pressure, darkness, and a silence so profound it becomes a kind of sound. A sound we must learn to hear, not with our ears, but with our imagination, to feel its weight and its invitation in the quiet of our own minds. For down there, in the cool and the quiet, the mysteries are indeed kept safe, not hiding, but waiting, patiently, for the day we learn to ask the right questions, or perhaps simply to listen, without the need to ask anything at all. And so we arrive at the fourth descent. The slow journey inward and downward continues. We have learned, perhaps, the virtue of listening. But to listen implies a listener, a consciousness adrift in the terrestrial night, turning its attention toward the aquatic one. We are the dreamers of the abyss. We project our quietest wonders onto its blank canvas. Our history with the deep is brief and marked by longing. For centuries it was a theoretical space, a realm for cartographers to label "here be monsters," a volume of blue ink on a parchment map. The first true breaches were acts of sheer engineering will. The bathysphere, a hollow sphere of steel, suspended by a single fragile cable. Within it, men like William Beebe peered through quartz windows into a world never before seen by human eyes. He spoke of constellations of living light, of beings that were less flesh and more phantom. His words, crackling over a radio line to the surface world, were not mere descriptions. They were telegrams from another dimension. Then came the Trieste, a bathyscaphe of profound ambition, a descent not just into space, but into legend, to the very floor of the Challenger Deep, the ultimate destination. The light of its lamp, a solitary sun in a universe of endless midnight, illuminated not a monstrous landscape, but a plain of pale, silty ooze. A footprint was left there, a gentle, almost apologetic indentation. It was a moment of supreme human achievement, and yet the overwhelming sensation reported was not of conquest. It was of immense, humbling isolation. The vehicle was an atom in a void, a grain of sand in the cathedral of night. This is the duality of the deep. It reveals just enough to deepen the mystery. Each answered question spawns a dozen new, more profound inquiries. The technology grows more sophisticated, yet the feeling remains the same. We now send down ROVs, remotely operated vehicles. They are our mechanical avatars, our eyes and hands of titanium and glass. They glide on silent thrusters, their beams cutting like surgical lasers through the perpetual gloom. They capture creatures of such bizarre elegance. They seem to obey a different physics. The ethereal siphonophore, a single organism appearing as a drifting colony of glowing bells. A living chandelier, 50 meters long. The barrel-eye fish, with its transparent head and upward-gazing emerald eyes. The vampire squid, turning itself inside out in a cloak of bioluminescent sparks. These are not monsters, they are masterpieces of adaptation. They are the solutions to problems we can scarcely comprehend. Problems of pressure, of scarcity, of perpetual darkness. They are proof that life is not just resilient, it is wildly, exuberantly inventive. But our probes see more than just life. They survey the graves of ships, liners and warships resting where they fell. They are now reefs of a different sort, monuments to human endeavor, slowly being reclaimed. The pressure that preserves them also distorts them. Hatches are blown inward. Steel plates are crumpled like tissue paper. These vessels tell a secondary silent story, the story of the deep's immense impersonal force. It is a force that does not rage. It simply is. It exerts itself with a patience that is absolute. Given enough time, it will smooth every edge, consume every artifact, and integrate every relic into its soft, sedimentary floor. Some wrecks, however, carry a mystery that transcends their tragic origins. They are the vessels that vanished without a trace, the ships and submarines that simply dematerialized from the known world. Consider the story of the USS Cyclops, a massive collier over 500 feet long. In 1918, it departed Barbados for Baltimore. It carried 309 souls, and it never arrived. No distress call was ever issued. No wreckage was ever confirmed. It remains the single largest loss of life in US naval history, not directly involving combat, and the sea has offered no explanation. It is a blank space in the record, an empty set of coordinates. Theories abound, of course. Structural failure, a rogue wave, a catastrophic storm. But the complete absence of evidence is itself a kind of evidence. It is evidence of the ocean's capacity to absorb, to swallow not just a ship, but its story, to fold the event into its endless silent narrative. The Cyclops did not become a relic. It became a rumor whispered by the currents. Then There are the sounds. The deep ocean is not truly silent. It is a conduit for sound, which travels farther and faster here than in air. And we have lowered microphones into this watery auditorium. We have heard the chorus of whales, their songs traveling for hundreds of miles, the crackling of shrimp, the rumble of earthquakes. But we have also heard sounds that defy easy classification. The bloop, an ultra-low frequency sound detected in 1997, powerful enough to be heard by sensors over 3,000 miles apart. It was initially the stuff of speculation, a creature of unimaginable size. Science eventually attributed it to the sound of a massive icequake, a glacier calving, a plausible physical explanation. And yet the romance of the idea persists, the longing for a leviathan just beyond the reach of our lights. For every sound we identify, others remain enigmas. The slowdown, the train, the whistle. These are names given to acoustic phenomena with no certain source. They are the fingerprints of unknown processes. Perhaps they are the groans of tectonic plates, the shifting of methane hydrates. Or perhaps they are something else, something that moves or breathes or calls in a language of pressure waves we cannot yet decipher. This is the auditory mystery of the abyss. A symphony where we can name only a few of the instruments. The rest of the orchestra plays on, unseen, in the wings of the deepest stage. Our listening, then, becomes an act of interpretation. We are like children hearing the complex conversations of adults. We grasp the tone, the emotion perhaps, but the specific meaning eludes us. And what of the very floor itself? We have mapped more of the surface of Mars than of our own ocean floor. Our global maps are often interpolations, broad brushstrokes of sonar pings. The details are vast terra incognita. There are mountains down there higher than Everest, canyons that make the Grand Canyon seem a mere scratch, hydrothermal vent fields where the Earth's fiery heart meets the icy water, creating oases of stunning life. These vents are cracks in the world. From them billows water superheated to hundreds of degrees, laden with minerals. It is a toxic, boiling brew. And yet, life clusters there in spectacular abundance. Giant tube worms, clad in white chitin, root themselves in the rock. They have no mouth, no gut. They survive through a symbiosis with bacteria that chemosynthesize the vent's sulfurous chemicals. They are creatures of pure chemistry. This discovery revolutionized our understanding of life's possibilities. Life does not require the sun. It does not require a benign temperate world. It requires only energy and a few fundamental elements. And the deep provides. It suggests that life could exist in the dark oceans of moons like Europa or Enceladus. Our search for life beyond Earth was fundamentally altered by looking deeper into our own. The abyss became a mirror and a window. But these vent ecosystems are transient. They are born from geological unrest, and they die when the vent goes cold. The community must find a new crack in the darkness or perish. It is a nomadic, precarious existence. It speaks to a resilience that is both fierce and fragile. A lesson written in the language of riftia and bacteria. A lesson about tenacity in the face of a fundamentally hostile universe. As our chapters descend, the scale of things begins to warp. Time moves differently under such pressure. Some of the creatures here may live for centuries. The Greenland shark, a denizen of the cold depths, can live for 4, perhaps 500 years. To such a creature, our entire industrialized history is a brief, noisy interlude. Our probes are fleeting, curious fireflies that come and go in the span of its long, slow life. We are the ephemeral ones. The rocks themselves hold memories of epochs we can only model. Layers of sediment are pages in a history book. They record asteroid impacts, climatic shifts, the rise and fall of entire species, all in a gentle accumulating rain of dust. To drill a core from the abyssal plane is to extract a timeline, a physical record of millions of years of quiet accumulation. It is an archive with no librarian, waiting for us to learn its filing system. And so, as we near the end of this fourth descent, we find ourselves not at a conclusion, but at a crossroads of perspective. We have looked at the life, the losses, the sounds, and the stones. We have seen that the deep is not a void. It is a plenum, a place utterly full of mystery, of adaptation, of history, and of silence that is densely packed with information. It is a library where the books are written in water and time. Our role is not to conquer this library, but to learn with humility how to read. To understand that every light we cast creates a shadow. Every answer we pull to the surface leaves 1,000 more in the dark below. The invitation remains. It is not an invitation to take, but to observe, to listen, to wonder, to lower our lights and our voices, and simply bear witness to the slow, grand, and mostly hidden narrative of our own planet. For in that bearing witness, we may discover something not just about the ocean, but about ourselves, about our place in a story that is far older, far larger, and far more mysterious than our brief chapter upon the land. And so, we prepare to ascend, for now, to return to the world of light and air, but we carry the weight of the deep with us, a weight that is not a burden, but an anchor, a reminder of the profound and patient mystery that lies always just beneath the surface of our thoughts. The ascent is a slow relinquishing, a gradual lightening of a pressure we had grown accustomed to bearing. The submersible rises through gradients of blue, each one a step further from that absolute truth of the abyss. And with each meter, the world below begins to feel more like a vivid dream. We break the surface into a chaos of light and wind. The slap of waves against the hull is a startling percussion after the cathedral silence. The sky is vast and empty and almost painfully bright. We are returned to our element, yet we are not the same. For the deep does not release its visitors easily. It clings to the mind like silt to a boot. In the days that follow, in the comfort of a sunlit room, the darkness returns. It returns in the quiet moments, when the world grows still and the noises of the day recede. Then, the abyss resumes its patient murmur. It is there in the slow blink of an eye, in the depths of a still cup of water, reflecting a ceiling lamp. The profound black is no longer a place on a map. It has become a place within, a new chamber in the memory, cool and silent, and waiting. We went seeking physical mysteries, wreckage, formations, strange biology, and we found them. But the greater discovery was intangible. It was the realization of scale, not just of space, but of time. The ocean does not keep time as we do. Its clock is geologic, its patience absolute. Our expeditions are but sparks, fleeting illuminations that gutter out almost as soon as they are born. The sea absorbs our lights, our sounds, our probes. It notes our passing with the same indifference with which it notes a falling grain of sediment. And this is perhaps the most humbling truth of all. We are not conquerors of this frontier. We are merely visitors, brief, curious, and fragile guests in a realm that operates on a different principle entirely. Our technology is a bubble of audacity, a temporary argument against the crushing weight of reality, and the sea allows it for a time. So we carry the anchor of the deep. It steadies us in the swirling currents of surface life. When concerns feel overwhelming, we can feel that weight, that immense, calm, enduring presence. It puts our hurries and our worries into a vaster, slower perspective. The mysteries we leave unsolved are not failures. They are gifts. They are promises. They are the guarantee that wonder has not been extinguished from the world, that just beyond the edge of our understanding, something immense and ancient continues its slow respiration. We look at a map of the ocean floor, with its scarps and plains and trenches. We see the names we have given them: the Mariana Trench, the Abyssal Plain, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. These are not answers. They are simply labels on the doors to the unknown. We have named the doors, but we have not seen the rooms. And what of the expeditions that never returned? The submarines that vanished, the divers lost to the black. Their stories are woven into the lore of the deep. They are cautionary tales, yes, but tamen yepam part of the mystery itself. Their vehicles are now artifacts, their final moments swallowed by the same silence we so briefly penetrated. Do they too now belong to the deep? Have they been incorporated into its slow geology? Perhaps in a millennium, some other explorer will find their resting place. It will be a puzzle from our primitive age, a relic of our first fumbling attempts to reach downward. This is the ocean's long game. It receives our offerings, our ships, our bones, our ambitions. It layers them over with ooze and time. It transforms our tragedies into its topography. Our stories become strata. Our deepest fears become part of the floor. So we listen to the recorded sounds, the hydrophone recordings from the deep, the bloop, the slowdown, the chorus of whales that seems to travel for thousands of miles. These are the voices of the mystery. They are not for us to decipher fully. Hearing them is like overhearing a conversation in a language we will never learn. We catch the emotion, the loneliness, the longing, the sheer scale of the communication. But the meaning remains just out of reach. It resides in the medium of the water itself, in pressures we cannot feel. And this is where the deep ocean touches the deep mind, the realm of sleep, of dreams. That is why these mysteries hold such power over us as we drift. The landscape of dream is not so different from the abyssal plain. It is a place of symbolic creatures, of hidden pressures, of truths that are felt rather than seen. To ponder the ocean is to court the subconscious. To ask questions that have no answers is to practice a form of meditation. The mind, like the water, settles. The trivialities sink away. What remains are the heavy, enduring things, the questions that shape us. We build our cities on the coast. We gaze out at the horizon line. This is not an accident. We are drawn to the edge of the great mystery. We need its presence, even if we fear its depths. It is a physical manifestation of all we do not know, a reminder that the world is not yet finished, that it is still wild and deep and full of secrets. Every surfer, every sailor, every child paddling at the shore is interacting with the very outermost skin of this entity. They feel its pulse in the waves, its power in the swell. They are touching the same body that conceals the Mariana Trench. This connection is profound and often unspoken. The water that laps your ankle in the sunshine has, in its time, known absolute blackness. It has circulated through the deepest currents. It has brushed against creatures of nightmare and wonder. It has been part of the great global conveyor belt that moves heat and life around the planet. That same water now evaporates into the air you breathe. The mystery is not separate from us. It is part of a closed cycle. We are of the land, yes, but we are also of the ocean. Our bodies remember the saline solution of the primordial sea. Our blood is a ghost of that ancient broth. So when we explore the abyss, we are in a sense exploring a part of our own ancestry, a memory of home, written in pressure and cold and chemosynthesis. It is a hostile home now, but it is where life first stirred, where the first chemical whispers of existence took hold. The deep sea vents, with their blistering plumes and alien ecosystems, are not mere curiosities. They are echoes of the beginning. They are windows into the conditions that might exist on other worlds. Europa, Enceladus. Their oceans are locked under ice, but they are oceans nonetheless. Thus, our exploration becomes a twin journey. Inward into the history of our planet, and outward into the possibilities of the cosmos. The deep ocean is the testbed, the training ground for a much longer, darker voyage we may one day undertake. It teaches us humility. It teaches us resilience. It teaches us that life is not a gentle thing. It is a stubborn, tenacious, brilliant force. It will cling to a thermal vent. It will flourish without sunlight. It will invent its own light. It will thrive on poison. This is the ocean's greatest lesson in hope. So we keep the anchor. We let it hold us fast against the trivial tides. We listen for the echoes of the deep in our quieter hours, in the sound of rain, which is the ocean falling back upon itself, in the quiet of a sleeping house, which has a quality of pressure all its own. The mystery is not a problem to be solved. It is a relationship to be maintained. We are the curious ones on the shore. The deep is the vastness that answers our curiosity with a deeper silence. And in that silence, we find the space to wonder, to imagine, to be small, and to be grateful for that smallness. For in acknowledging the mystery, we acknowledge our own limits, and in that acknowledgement, there is a strange and profound freedom. We are released from the need to know everything. We are permitted to simply marvel. The weight we carry is not of knowledge, but of awe. And so the expedition ends where all true expeditions end. not on a map, but in the mind. The vessel is docked, the data is logged, but the journey continues. It continues in the dark behind your eyes, as you listen to this voice, as you drift towards sleep. You are now the explorer. Your subconscious is the submersible. Dive deep. Do not fear the darkness there, for it is your own. Listen for the slow pulses of your own deepest thoughts. They are the bioluminescent flashes in the private abyss. The ocean of sleep awaits. It too has its trenches, its lost cities, its creatures that shimmer just beyond recognition. Carry the anchor with you there. Let it steady your descent into that other, equally mysterious deep. The voyage is never truly over. It simply pauses for a while in the world of light. The descent continues. But now the pressure you feel is not of water, but of time. It is the weight of all your yesterdays, settling like silt upon the ocean floor of your mind. Your submersible of thought glides through these accumulated layers. You pass through the warm, sunlit zone of recent memory. Here, the events of the day still drift like plankton, faintly glowing. Their details are clear, their shapes defined by the fading light of consciousness. You observe them with a gentle curiosity, as one watches fish from a viewport. But you sink further into the twilight realm. Here, the water grows cooler, and the light dims. These are the memories of last week, last month, last year. They are more fragmented, their edges softened by constant motion. They swirl in gentle upwellings, sometimes revealing a familiar face, a snippet of conversation. You do not grasp for them. To grasp is to stir the silt, to cloud the water with confusion. You merely observe their slow dance. They are bioluminescent now, flashing not for you, but for some internal purpose of their own. A forgotten birthday cake, the smell of a rain-soaked street, the texture of an old blanket. Deeper still, the pressure of years increases, a comfortable heaviness. This is the midnight zone of older recollections. The landscape changes. Here lie the shipwrecks of childhood experiences, half buried and overgrown with the strange coral of interpretation. Their original forms are shrouded. You see the outline of a schoolyard. You hear the echo of a long-ago reprimand or praise. The water here is profoundly still, a perfect preserver of moments deemed insignificant by your waking self. Yet they hold their shape, waiting in the dark. Your vessel's light sweeps across the abyssal plain. This is the floor of your foundational years. The sediment is thick and soft. Here, things are not memories of events, but memories of sensations. The primal sense of safety, the first pangs of separation. They have no words, only a physical echo in your bones. The water is utterly black beyond your beam. Yet you feel a topography down here. Vast, gentle rises and deep, seamless rifts. These are the contours of your temperament, formed before memory began. You are mapping the very bedrock of yourself. And then, your light catches a glint. Not a biological flash, but a hard metallic reflection. You guide your craft closer, the thrusters whispering. There, partly embedded in the soft ooze, is a crafted object. It is the anchor you carried down from the world above. But it has changed. It is no longer a foreign tool. It is now a relic of your own descent. Its surface is patinated, grown over with a delicate, lace-like ferromanganese crust. It is becoming part of this landscape. It is the point where your conscious will meets the immutable deep. You leave it there, a marker in the silt. Your journey is not to plant flags, but to witness. You move on, the darkness swallowing the anchor's faint gleam. The submersible thrums, a sound that is your own heartbeat, slowed and amplified. It is the only rhythm in this eternal night. A new shape emerges from the gloom. It is vast and geometric, a shadow against a deeper shadow. You approach with infinite slowness. Details resolve not through light, but through a kind of knowing that comes from within the dream. It is not a shipwreck. It is a building, a facade of worn stone and ornate, water-smoothed carvings. A grand staircase disappears into a darker interior. You have found a city in your own abyss. Not a lost city of myth, but a lost city of self. This is the architecture of forgotten dreams, both sleeping and waking. The ambitions you laid aside, the lives you imagined but never lived. They have crystallized here, in the absolute quiet and pressure, into this silent, sprawling metropolis. Its windows are dark. Its streets are empty of all but currents. You drift down a wide boulevard. Statues of figures you almost recognize line the way, their features eroded into vague, benevolent expressions. This is the museum of your potential. It is a peaceful, if melancholic place. There is no regret here, only the calm fact of existence. A towering spire, like that of a sunken cathedral, draws your eye. Within, you sense not a memory, but a repository of feeling. The pure, unmixed joy of a moment so perfect it could not survive the surface world. It sank here, intact, to be preserved in this perfect, cold brine. You do not enter. Some chambers are meant to be viewed only from the outside. Their sanctity depends on their solitude. You offer a silent acknowledgement from your viewport and continue on. The city stretches beyond the reach of your senses, an endless, submerged Atlantis of the psyche. Beyond the city limits, the terrain falls away once more. You are at the lip of an inner trench. This is the Mariana Trench of the mind, the ultimate plunge. Here, the pressure is the weight of the unconscious itself, the collective inheritance of millennia of human fear and wonder. You hover at the rim. The submersible groans softly, a sound of tested limits. This is the frontier. Below lies what you do not know, and what you have always known, the primordial soup from which your fleeting thoughts first emerged. It is the source of the bioluminescent flashes, the home of the creatures beyond recognition. You slowly begin the final descent into the trench. The walls, sheer and black, slide past. The temperature drops to a point where cold is no longer a sensation, but a state of being. Your instruments, which are your senses, begin to read only nonsense, or perhaps they read a truth too fundamental for language. Here, in the utter void, you begin to perceive not objects, but pulses. They are the low-frequency vibrations of existence itself, the slow beat of geological time, the resonant frequency of a star drifting in the void. You realize these pulses have always been there, underlying everything. They are the hum of the universe, filtered through layers of rock and ocean and bone to reach this silent chamber within you. You are not separate from the deep ocean you sought to explore. You are a cavity within it, a bell that occasionally, faintly, rings in sympathy with its immense, slow tides. And in this profound realization, a gentle light begins to grow. It does not come from your vessel. It emanates from the trench walls themselves, a soft, blue, milky luminescence. It is the light of pure awareness, without an object to be aware of. It simply is. The entire chasm is now faintly visible, a cathedral of glowing living rock. You see that the walls are not bare. They are inscribed, not with words, but with shapes, spirals, knots, intersecting lines. They are the archetypal patterns, the deep code of story and myth that every human civilization has ever drawn. You are reading the walls of your own mind, and they are the same walls that surround the dreams of every person who has ever slept. This trench is not yours alone. It is a shared depth. The submersible dissolves, and you are simply present, a point of observation in the ancient, glowing dark. Time has no anchor here. You could be suspended for seconds or for centuries. The pulses and the light are a lullaby, a deep, slow song that unravels the very concept of a separate self. You are the water. You are the pressure. You are the soft light on the stone. There is a gentle upward tug, not an urgent pull, but the beginning of a natural buoyancy. The exploration of the absolute deep is complete for now. The city, the plains, the layers of memory, all lie above you. They will be there unchanged on another descent. You rise slowly through the realm of pulses past the trench rim. The geometry of the lost city passes beneath you, a silent testament. You pass the marker of your anchor, now just another feature of the landscape. The layers of memory grow warmer, less distinct. You are not returning empty-handed. You carry no artifact, no sample. You carry the resonance of the deep, the knowledge that the most foreign mystery is also your native state. The surface world, with its light and noise, is the true anomaly, a temporary disturbance in a quiet, eternal deep. Your ascent slows. You hover now in the warm, dark waters just beneath the mantle of sleep. The voyage pauses. The submersible of your consciousness is docking once more in the quiet harbor of your resting body. The great ocean of the unconscious recedes, though it never leaves. It remains, vast and patient, beneath the thin film of your waking hours. Its trenches hold your oldest truths. Its lost cities guard your abandoned selves. And its creatures, those shimmering thoughts just beyond recognition, will wait for you. They will always wait for you in the kindly darkness. The harbor is quiet, but the ocean calls again. Its whispers rise through the layers of your rest. A soft current tugs at the moorings of your mind. This time, the journey is different. We will not dive into the trench of forgotten dreams. Instead, we will drift along the abyssal plain. Here, the sediment of memory settles in fine grey layers. Each stratum holds a year, a season, a moment now compressed by time. Your life lies buried here, gently covered by the slow rain of days. We illuminate this plain with our weak lights. They cast circles of gold on the endless grey. Shadows stretch and contract, with the pulse of your heart. Something glints in the silt, a fragment of something brighter. It is a shard of a childhood afternoon, perhaps. The sun on water, the taste of ice cream, now fossilized into this quiet place. We extend a gentle claw to retrieve it. It comes up clean, shining under the light. For a moment, it warms the cold water around us. Then it fades, returning to the sediment. Some memories are not meant to be recovered. They are meant to be felt only as pressure, as weight in the deep. We move on, the submersible humming a low, constant note. It is the sound of your own breathing, slowed and steady. The ocean accepts this rhythm as its own. A shape emerges from the gloom. It is tall and slender, a spire of rock, or perhaps something else. We approach with caution, lights probing the darkness. It is a monument, but to what? Coral has encrusted its surfaces, and strange fish nest in its crevices. This is a structure built by time, not by hands. You may have erected it in some long-ago storm of feeling, a grief or a joy so profound it needed a place in the geography of yourself. Now it stands silent, a landmark in the dark. We circle it slowly, observing the life it has attracted. Luminous eels curl around its base. Their light is blue and cold, like distant stars. They pulse in unison, a silent communication. It is a language you once understood in the days before words, a language of pure sensation, of light and shadow. The submersible turns away, leaving the monument to its eternal vigil. Our path now descends along a gentle slope. The temperature drops by fractions of a degree. We are entering a region of cold springs, where fluid seeps from the earth itself. These are the well springs of intuition, of those knowings that arrive without source. They bubble up, clouds of mineral-rich mist. In the beams of our lights, they look like thought itself, forming and dissolving. You cannot grasp them, only witness their birth. A creature floats through this mist, all tendrils and eyes. It is a thought not yet fully shaped, a worry or a hope still in its larval stage. It watches us with passive interest. We do not disturb it. It will grow or it will dissipate, fed by the currents of your attention. The ocean is patient with its children. The slope steepens. We are following a fault line, a crack in the foundation of the self. It is here that continents of belief slowly shift against one another. Sometimes there is a tremor, a distant rumble you feel in your waking hours as unease. But down here, the movement is constant and slow, measured in epochs. We drift over the chasm. Our lights cannot find the bottom. It is a divide between who you were and who you are becoming. The gap is filled with silent black water. From the depths, a slow echo rises. It is the sound of a voice, perhaps your own, calling across a great distance. The message is lost in the reverberation. We linger at the edge, feeling the pull of the profound dark. It is tempting to dive into that emptiness, to seek the source of the echo. But our mission is observation, not conquest. The submersible turns, following the fault line along its length. We are cartographers of this inner world, mapping its contours without judgment. Every feature is accepted, every abyss respected. A forest of giant tube worms appears, their white tubes rooted in the chemosynthetic ooze. They are your deep dependencies, the symbiotic relationships that sustain you in the darkness. They feed on invisible energies, on chemicals that would be poison in another environment. Here, they are life itself. They sway in a current you cannot feel. We move among them, a visitor in a sacred grove. Their plumes are red and delicate, filtering nourishment from the void. They have never seen the sun, yet they thrive. This is the resilience of the deep. Life adapts to the pressure, to the cold, to the absence of light. So too to the patterns of your mind. Beyond the grove, the seafloor falls away into a new expanse. It is a basin of incredible stillness. The water here is so clear, it seems like air. Suspended in this clarity are millions of tiny golden particles. They drift like dust in a sunbeam, though no sun has ever touched this place. They are moments of peace, forgotten and accumulated. We glide through them, and they part before us, swirling in our wake. They cling to the viewports for an instant, then are gone. This is the silt of serenity, settled in the calmest depths. A shape rests on the basin floor. It is smooth and oval, like a giant egg or a sealed pod. Its surface is featureless, reflecting our lights back at us. This is something dormant, something waiting. It may be a potential you have not yet activated, a talent or a love left in incubation. The ocean keeps it safe at the perfect pressure and temperature. We do not attempt to open it. Its time is not now. We note its location and move on, leaving it to its silent gestation. The ocean is a great conservator, preserving what may be needed later. The basin begins to rise, forming a gentle dome. At its apex, there is an opening, a chimney venting warm water into the cold. It is a geothermal vent, a crack in the Earth's crust. Community thrives here in the harsh heat. Blind crabs scuttle over mineral towers. Pale shrimp swarm in the turbulent flow. This is a place of extreme energy, of transformation. Here, the very chemistry of the water is altered. Sulfides become sustenance. What is toxic elsewhere, here feeds an entire ecosystem. So too are your struggles metabolized into strength. We hover at a respectful distance, feeling the pulse of heat through the hull. The vent roars a silent roar, a constant exhalation from the planet's core. It is a reminder of the fire beneath the calm. This heat drives the currents of your deepest motivations. It is the engine of passion, of conviction, that warms the cold abyss. Without it, all would be still and frozen. Turning from the vent, we set a course for open water. The concentrated intensity fades behind us. The darkness feels softer now, more familiar. We pass through a school of translucent jellies. They pulse with a gentle, bioluminescent rhythm. Each beat is a fleeting emotion, a spark of joy or sadness that lights up and then fades. They surround the submersible, a galaxy of soft light. They do not steer, but are carried by the deep currents. You are both the current and the jelly. The